Moa Son, an ordinary office worker, wakes up in a dungeon in the middle of the night and awakens as a collecting hunter. After barely making it out alive, she falls into the same dungeon but gets rescued by the first-ranked hunter, Jihan Seo, and, while trying to save her, he dies, and his spirit is bound with hers. Now he's offering to make her strong on this one condition: promise to kill the bosses of all the dungeons that exist in the world. 5 years ago, something began crossing dimensions and invading our world. These mysterious phenomena became known as dungeons. The sudden appearance of dungeons threatened the peaceful lives of ordinary people, causing chaos and injuries everywhere. But as the crisis grew, some people rose to fight back. They called themselves hunters. Among them stood the strongest of all, the first-rank hunter. Inside a high-level dungeon, he and his party faced the final boss, a powerful demon king. Before being defeated, the Demon King used necromancy to revive an army of skeleton soldiers. The undead warriors charged toward the hunters, but a protective barrier blocked their attack. One party member froze the skeletons with ice magic, shattering them into pieces. Taking advantage of the opening, the first-rank hunter rushed forward. The Lich tried to resist, but the hunter's blade pierced straight through its core. Crack. The core shattered instantly. The boss collapsed, and the dungeon raid ended in victory. At the time, he was considered a hero. Unfortunately, heroes and dungeons had absolutely nothing to do with our protagonist. At least, that was what she thought. Late at night, a young woman staggered down the street after an office drinking party. She swayed left and right like a zombie that had lost its GPS. Eventually, she managed to reach her tiny basement apartment. Her name was Moa Son. She was an ordinary woman in her 20s who barely managed to pay rent every month. She worked at a brokerage firm that acted as a middleman between hunters and civilians. Most of her job involved dealing with angry hunters, and angry hunters were somehow even scarier than monsters. After returning home, she immediately threw herself onto her bed. "I should set an alarm for 7 in the morning," she thought. "I'll lie down for a bit before taking a shower." A few seconds later, she was completely asleep. Then, everything changed. Somewhere inside a dungeon, a giant mantis-like monster searched through the area. Hidden behind a large boulder, Moa covered her mouth with both hands. "This is definitely not supposed to be happening to me." The giant insect moved farther away. Moa carefully peeked out. "Did it leave?" "I think it did." She finally relaxed. "I clearly remember falling asleep in my bed. So, why am I here?" After looking around, she came to one conclusion: I am inside a dungeon. That only raised more questions. Entering a dungeon usually cost a fortune, so it was unlikely that someone had kidnapped her and brought her here. Besides, she had never made any enemies. I even apologize when I accidentally bump into people. Then a possibility crossed her mind. Wait, is this an irregular fissure? Irregular fissures were strange phenomena that had only appeared twice in recorded history. If that's true, then I might be the first human ever sucked into one. The realization nearly made her panic. A non-combatant alone inside a dungeon equals death. A clicking sound suddenly echoed nearby. Moa froze. I can't just hide forever. She remembered stories about hunters. Some hunters awaken and immediately start fighting monsters. A moment later, she shook her head. Who actually does that? The giant mantis suddenly appeared above her. Moa nearly had a heart attack. Thankfully, the monster walked away again. She slowly sat down. I'm scared. I want to go home. Then she noticed something glowing nearby. Several strange flowers were growing among the rocks. She carefully looked at them. I think I've seen these before. Then she remembered something her friend once told her. They were ingredients used in expensive potions. A single petal was worth 100,000 won. She also saw the bug monsters eat these flowers. Moa looked around. There were flowers everywhere. Her eyes widened. This place is a gold mine. For a brief moment, her fear was replaced by the spirit of capitalism. Several hours passed. Moa's stomach growled. I've been here for hours. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. If I can't escape soon, the monsters will find me. She grabbed her stomach. If this thing starts growling while a monster walks by, I'm finished. Trying to distract herself, she reached for one of the flowers and picked it. Immediately, a notification appeared before her eyes. An unawakened being has successfully obtained an item. Moa blinked. Another notification appeared. Achievement acquired. Sole unawakened individual in the dungeon. Achievement acquired. Outsider. Who entered a dungeon alone? Achievement acquired. First to enter an incomplete dungeon. Achievement acquired. Obtained special item. More messages rapidly filled her vision. Special condition achieved. Impossible coincidence achieved. Allocating resources. A skill slot that had never existed before suddenly appeared. The area around her began glowing with brilliant light. Moa stared at the messages in disbelief as energy surrounded her body. Mom, I think I just awakened. As light surrounded her body, Moa clasped her hands together. Thank you so much. She looked up toward the sky. I honestly didn't think you were paying attention to me, but I guess you haven't abandoned me, God. For the first time since arriving in the dungeon, she smiled. I can get out of here now. Excitedly, she opened her status window to check her newly awakened abilities. Then her smile disappeared. No strength bonus, no agility bonus, no magic bonus, nothing. The only things listed were an F-class active skill called Gathering and a hidden passive skill called It Wasn't There, but It Is Now. Moa stared at the screen. That's it. What about my stats, my combat abilities, my hidden skill? Can someone please explain what any of this means? As if responding to her complaint, an explanation window appeared. It wasn't there, but it is now. Items gathered by the user will always be obtained in their best possible condition. That's it. Picking flowers better is my hidden skill. She looked absolutely devastated. I thought hidden skills were supposed to be amazing. There is no way out now. After several seconds of self-pity, she sighed. Should I at least try using it? She activated Gathering and picked one of the glowing flowers. The flower immediately disappeared. A new window popped up. Stored in inventory. Moa's eyes widened. Oh, so it gets neatly trimmed and stored automatically. She opened the inventory and examined the flower. S-grade core of Evathanus cell. Estimated value, 50 million. Holding the item in her hands, she started trembling. Mom, I'm holding a Mercedes. For a moment, all thoughts of survival vanished from her mind. Then she slapped her own cheeks. This isn't the time for that. Money is useless if I die in here. No matter how valuable the item was, she couldn't sell it inside a dungeon. She couldn't access the hunter market. She couldn't buy an escape stone. And she couldn't call for help. Thinking back, she regretted not paying more attention to the hunters at her company. I should have listened when they started talking about dungeon survival. With no other choice, she decided to gather everything valuable she could find. Flower after flower disappeared into her inventory. Plants, herbs, anything that looked expensive. Everything was automatically stored. After a while, she opened her inventory again. Every single item was either A-grade or S-grade. Moa stared at the screen. So that's what it means. When my hidden skill says best condition, it literally means everything becomes top quality. The skill suddenly felt a lot more impressive. Then another problem appeared. What am I supposed to do with all this? Her stomach growled loudly. Moa looked down at an S-grade core. Should I just eat it? If I'm going to die anyway, what's there to lose? Technically, she had picked the flowers because she was hungry in the first place. Looking at the core, she hesitated. What a waste. This thing is worth at least 500,000 won. A few seconds later, she shoved it into her mouth. Crunch. A notification immediately appeared. You have consumed an S-grade core. Agility +1. The timer began counting down. No wonder these things are expensive. Then, another thought crossed her mind. Wait, this is a potion ingredient. What happens if I eat more? Without hesitation, she ate another one. Agility +2, duration reset. The timer returned to 5 minutes. Moa nodded. It's a shame I can't sell them, but if they help me survive, it's worth it. After calming down, she reviewed everything she knew about escaping dungeons. There were only 3 methods. First, kill the boss and escape through the exit gate that appears when the dungeon collapses. Moa immediately crossed that option off. Not happening. The second method, use an escape stone. Unfortunately, she didn't have one. The third method, kill a monster, obtain its mana stone, and break it. Mana stones could force open an exit from inside a dungeon. That was her only realistic chance. If I can kill just one monster, my hidden skill should give me a high-quality mana stone. Hope slowly returned. Then she remembered something. The first person to discover this escape method was the current #1 hunter, Jihan Seo. Long ago, he had become separated from his team inside a dungeon. With no escape stone and no help coming, he experimented and discovered that breaking a mana stone could create an exit. Before that discovery, hunters trapped alone in dungeons were basically sentenced to death. Jihan Seo had defied fate and returned alive. Moa sighed. I wish I was strong like him. Click. A familiar sound echoed behind her. The monster had returned. Moa's face turned pale. Can I really do this? She had no combat skills, no weapon, no training. She didn't even know how strong the monster was. What if it's way stronger than I think? I'll just wait for another monster. That seemed like a perfectly reasonable plan. Unfortunately, her stomach disagreed. The loud growl echoed through the area. The mantis was staring directly at her. Its eyes had locked onto her position. I've been caught. Apparently, 2 cores weren't enough to fill her stomach. Without wasting another second, she opened her inventory. Then she started eating every core she had. Notifications flooded her vision. The effects stacked rapidly. The mantis suddenly lunged forward. But this time, Moa moved. The monster's blade-like arms sliced through empty air. Moa had already dodged. Her eyes widened. I would have died instantly if I hadn't eaten those. The mantis screeched in frustration. Moa stared at it. The creature looked confused. In her head, she imagined what it was thinking. Where did this rat come from? The monster had probably realized she wasn't a combat hunter. That was actually good. If it underestimated her, she might have a chance. Moa swallowed nervously. Please, just let your guard down for 1 second, because 1 second was all she needed. The giant mantis attacked. Moa immediately dodged. The monster swung its sharp pincers again. She dodged once more. Attack after attack came flying toward her, but somehow her body kept moving on its own. I honestly thought I wouldn't be able to dodge. The effects of the cores were incredible. Her body felt lighter than ever before. The mantis lunged again. This time, its pincers slammed into a stone wall and became stuck. Moa's eyes lit up. Now's my chance. She rushed forward and kicked the monster directly in the head. Bang! The mantis screeched in pain. Unfortunately, it barely seemed injured. The creature slowly turned its head and glared at her. Moa immediately regretted her decision. It's way tougher than I thought. A kick isn't nearly enough. I need a weapon. Or something hard. Her eyes landed on the giant boulder she had been hiding behind earlier. Without thinking, she grabbed it. Then she pulled. The boulder broke apart. She didn't have time to question it. Using all her strength, she hurled the massive rock at the monster. The mantis swung its pincers. The boulder split cleanly in half. Moa's jaw dropped. It split a rock like it was nothing. The mantis attacked again. She continued dodging. Every attack narrowly missed her, but she could feel her body slowing down. Punches won't work. Rocks won't work. The buffs only have about a minute left. At this rate, I'm either getting badly injured or dying. As she desperately searched for a weakness, something caught her attention. The monster's joints. Its legs could only bend in one direction, just like a human knee. Moa's eyes widened. If that's true, then hitting it from the side should break it. She picked up a large stone and threw it with all her strength. The stone struck one of its leg joints. The monster stumbled. She immediately grabbed another stone. Smash! A loud cracking sound echoed through the cave. One of the mantis's legs snapped. The monster lost its balance and crashed onto its back. Its screech echoed throughout the dungeon. Without wasting a second, Moa rushed forward. She grabbed the broken pincer. The sharp weapon was nearly as long as her body. Holding it with both hands, she raised it above her head. Just die already before another monster shows up. She drove the pincer downward. The weapon pierced through the monster's mouth and into its head. The mantis twitched, then stopped moving. Silence filled the area. Moa stared at the corpse. Did I kill it? Is it really dead? Before she could celebrate, more clicking sounds echoed from the darkness. Her face turned pale. More monsters were coming. Not good. She immediately activated Gathering on the dead mantis. The sounds around her grew louder. Dozens of mantises were approaching. Goodbye, bugs. Crack. She smashed the mana stone. Just as the monsters lunged toward her, her body disappeared. But the monster still managed to stab her in a last second. The next moment, she found herself back in her apartment. She had returned home. Moa collapsed onto her bed. Her entire body hurt. Several cuts covered her arms and legs. Blood soaked her clothes and bedsheets. If I had stayed there any longer, I would have been cut in half. She reached for her phone. I need to call emergency services. But when she tried to unlock it, the fingerprint scanner failed. Her fingers were covered in blood. Moa stared at the phone. Most hunters would simply drink a healing potion in situations like this. The problem was that healing potions were absurdly expensive. A single bottle could cost hundreds of millions or even billions of won. There was no way she could afford one. Then she remembered something. Awakened hunters had access to a special privilege. No matter where they were, they could enter the hunter market. Immediately, she opened the system menu. The registration screen appeared. Before entering a name, she paused. Most hunters used nicknames. It helped maintain anonymity. Of course, people could still figure out who you were if enough clues piled up, but it was still safer than using a real name. Moa thought for a moment. Hunters often chose names related to their abilities. My skill gathers items. Taking items from monsters is basically looting. Looter. She registered the name. The hunter market opened. The first thing she searched for was a healing potion. 1,000,000,000 for one bottle. She felt her soul leaving her body. Thankfully, she remembered the mountain of S-grade items sitting in her inventory. If she sold those, she could afford it. Probably. Hopefully. With trembling hands, she selected the items and put them up for sale. While the market processed the transaction, she curled up on her bed. I miss Mom. I miss Songju. I'm cold. Blood continued dripping onto the sheets. Several seconds later, a notification appeared. Sale complete. Moa immediately checked the result. Without wasting another second, she purchased the healing potion. Hang in there, Moa. Just a little longer. She uncorked the bottle and drank it. Warm energy spread throughout her body. The cuts disappeared. The pain vanished. The blood stopped flowing. Her alarm rang at 7:30 a.m. Moa opened her eyes. The first thing she thought was, I don't want to go to work. Slowly dragging herself out of bed, she headed toward the bathroom. Then she stopped. The mirror reflected blood all over her face. Blood on her hands. Blood on her clothes. Blood on the bedsheets. Moa stared silently. So, it wasn't a dream. Everything had really happened. She had entered a dungeon. She had fought a monster. And, somehow, she had awakened as a hunter. Still feeling dazed, she opened the hunter market again. Then she checked her account balance. A few seconds later, a scream echoed throughout the apartment. What? She checked again. The number hadn't changed. More than 2,000,000,000 remained in her account. Moa stared at the screen with trembling hands. Then she jumped around the room like she had won the lottery. I'm a billionaire. At 25, for the first time in her life, paying rent was no longer her biggest problem. After selling her items, Moa chose to receive the payment in cash. The hunter market mainly operated through item trading, but users could choose their preferred form of payment. Cash, gold, foreign currency, almost anything. Moa didn't hesitate. I'm taking all of it in cash. Taking it out as goods would only create extra work. Besides, she could always exchange it later. After confirming the payment option, she clenched her fists excitedly. Given my current situation, there's only one thing left to do. I'm quitting my job today. Later that morning, she walked down the street with a huge grin on her face. To an ordinary office worker, 2,000,000,000 was an unimaginable amount of money. And she still had items she hadn't sold yet. Maybe she should share some of it with her mother. I'll tell Mom I won the lottery. She thought for a moment. Maybe I'll give her 1,000,000,000. Then she paused. Wait, isn't that too much for a lottery winner? After another moment of consideration, she nodded. 500 million. That sounds more believable. She continued muttering to herself while pedestrians stared at her like she had escaped from somewhere. I'll invest the rest, spend carefully, stay safe, and live happily ever after. It was a flawless plan, at least in her head. Eventually, she arrived at the office. Good morning. The moment she stepped inside, she was greeted by two managers. One was Mr. Lee from Management Team 2. The other was Mr. Kim from Management Team 1. Mr. Lee immediately spoke up. I heard you were sick yesterday, but you look perfectly healthy today. His eyes narrowed. Are you sure you weren't out having fun? Before Moa could answer, Mr. Kim stepped in. She missed work without notice. I'm sure she was genuinely sick. Moa forced a smile. I guess my face is a little puffy today. Inside, she had a completely different thought. Is it because of the healing potion? This guy started attacking me the moment I walked in. Mr. Lee sighed dramatically. I was worried sick about you. Mr. Kim nodded. You're too kind, Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee placed a hand on Moa's shoulder. You need to notify us when you're absent, even if you're sick. Young people these days have no sense of responsibility. I'm letting it slide this time. Work hard. He patted her back and walked away. Understood, Mr. Lee. Moa smiled politely. Inside her mind, however, I wish I could punch him in the face. Back at her cubicle, she sat down and opened her computer. He's annoying, but I really did miss work without notice. Who would have thought I'd spend the day trapped inside a dungeon? A familiar voice suddenly spoke beside her. Moa. She turned around. You're here. How are you feeling? I was worried. It was Soo-yeon Kim, the assistant manager of Management Team 2. Much better. I'm sorry I couldn't contact anyone yesterday. Soo-yeon smiled. It happens. Take it easy today. But I caused you trouble. It's fine. I reported it as sick leave. Moa almost cried. Did you hear that, Mr. Lee? This is how normal human beings treat coworkers. Looking around, she noticed someone was missing. Where's Seo-hyun? Soo-hyun sighed. She covered your work yesterday. She didn't get home until after midnight. She'll be coming in a little late. Moa nearly fell out of her chair. Soo-hyun laughed. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You got plenty of work waiting for you anyway. Moa looked down at the mountain of paperwork on her desk. Her smile vanished instantly. Hunter Market purchase orders covered almost every inch of her workspace. Why is there so much? A few hours later, Moa was still drowning in paperwork. At lunchtime, Moa pointed at the documents. I've got purchase orders to finish. You can go eat without me. At this rate, it'll take 4 hours. There's no way I'm leaving. Soo-hyun frowned. You still need to eat. How about beef porridge? I can grab some for you. The morning meeting is ending soon. If you wait too long, the market manager will get busy. I will buy your food. Moa's eyes immediately lit up. Then I'll leave my card here. Soo-hyun laughed. I thought you were busy. Go. While waiting for the elevator, Moa smiled to herself. I thought Soo-hyun was cold when I first met her. She's actually really warm-hearted. She hates seeing people skip meals or lose sleep. Then another thought crossed her mind. Should I tell everyone I've awakened? As an awakened hunter, she could transfer to work directly with the hunter market. The job mostly involved registering items and managing transactions. Compared to her current workload, it sounded heavenly, but the thought disappeared just as quickly. If people found out she was a hunter with only gathering skills, she'd become an easy target. The secret to a long life is staying quiet and staying out of trouble. I'll keep it a secret. Moa entered the hunter market office. Hello? Behind one of the desks sat a market manager. The moment she saw him, she frowned. What a jerk. Approaching his desk, she forced a smile. Good morning. Have you eaten? There are quite a few items today. Sorry for the trouble. The manager glanced and asked, why are there so many? Moa almost rolled her eyes. All he has to do is search for them and pull them out. What's the big deal? Then she noticed a book lying on his desk. Dungeon Monster Strategy Guide. Her attention immediately locked onto it. Could the bug monster I fought be in there? The manager noticed her staring. Interested. You keep looking at my book. Want to know something? Moa quickly nodded. The guy might be a jerk, but this was his area of expertise. Do you know a monster with mantis-like legs and an ant-shaped body? About 10 feet tall. The manager opened his hunter database. A moment later he answered. That's an F-rank normal type bug monster. What is its name? Only bosses have names. Weak monsters don't get that privilege. He continued explaining. Monsters are categorized into different types. Flying, poison, normal. Their rank depends on the quality of items they drop. If it drops F-rank materials, it's an F-rank monster. If it drops S-rank materials, it's an S-rank monster. Then he looked at her. Ordinary people like you will never run into one anyway. He handed her the completed basket. Here you go. All done. Thank you. Moa smiled. Inside, however, I ran into one yesterday, you jerk. As she walked back to her cubicle, she thought about what she had learned. So I almost died fighting an F-rank monster. That's it. I'm never entering a dungeon again. Ever. At that exact moment, Soo-hyun appeared carrying food. Here, Moa smiled. Thanks. I'll eat after I finish this. I'll pay you back. Soo-hyun immediately grabbed the paperwork from her hands. All that's left is shipping. I'll finish it. I'm an expert. It'll take 30 minutes. Go eat. Then she practically shoved Moa toward her lunch. A little later, just as Moa was about to start eating, someone approached her desk. Do you have a minute? She looked up. Seo-hyun. The coworker who had worked late because of her smiled apologetically. Sorry to interrupt. I have to leave soon, so can we talk? How are you feeling? I'm completely fine now. I'm completely fine now. Seo-hyun laughed. I'm glad. Moa lowered her head. I'm sorry. I heard you had to work overtime because of me. So, Soo-hyun told you. Don't worry about it. I reported that you gave me notice beforehand. Just make sure your story matches. Moa blinked. Actually, Mr. Lee already told Mr. Kim I missed work without notice. Seo-hyun sighed. I guess that can't be helped. If anything becomes messy, tell me. I'll adjust the schedule. To be honest, Seo-hyun already acted more like the team leader than anyone else. Moa hesitated. If she wanted to tell someone about awakening, now was probably the best chance. Seo-hyun leaned back slightly. Why are you acting so nervous? Do you have something to tell me? Moa swallowed. If I don't tell her now, I'll keep putting it off. I can't keep this secret forever. Just as she gathered her courage. Rumble. The desk shook. Both women froze. The entire building trembled. Moa looked around. Isn't this strange? It feels like the building is shaking. The building continued to shake violently. Moa immediately stood up. Seo-hyun looked around nervously. I'll go see what's happening. Get under a table. As Sehyeon ran off, Moa hesitated. Is it really okay for me to stay here? Shouldn't I go outside too? Ignoring the advice, she ran into the hallway. I need to know what's happening. Then she saw it. A massive crack tore through the office. A gate appeared in the middle of the building. Moa's face turned pale. It wasn't an earthquake. A dungeon has spawned. Panic immediately hit her. No time to think. No time to hesitate. I need an escape stone. She quickly opened the hunter market. Her fingers flew across the screen. Then she saw the price. 5 billion won. What? Where am I supposed to get that much money? Unfortunately, it was already too late. The dungeon's pull activated. The world twisted around her. And before she could do anything, she was dragged inside. Moa screamed. This is the second time I've fallen into a stupid dungeon. A short while later, she carefully looked around. The dungeon felt completely different from the one she had entered the night before. The air was colder. The darkness was thicker. Everything felt more dangerous. Then she heard it. Click, click, click. Her entire body froze. Not again. Before she could react, a desperate scream echoed through the darkness. Help me! Moa turned toward the sound. She saw the shadow of a man getting killed by the same kind of a bug monster she fought. Moa immediately hid behind a rock. The situation is much worse than yesterday. If I turn on my phone's flashlight and run, they'll notice me instantly. There won't be anyone to save me. Then a thought crossed her mind. The market managers, they must have been dragged in here too. They may be jerks, and they only awakened recently, but they're still hunters. Surely they wouldn't abandon civilians. The situation isn't completely hopeless. First, I'll find a market manager. Before she could finish the thought, another office worker was sliced apart nearby. Then, suddenly, someone grabbed her arm. She almost screamed. A hand pulled her away into the darkness. Damn it. That scared me. I was so shocked I couldn't even scream. Who is this? It's too dark to see. Several minutes later, they finally stopped running. Moa looked up. The person who had saved her was Sehyeon. Thank God you're safe. This way. Hurry. Relieved, Moa followed her. Soon they found another familiar face, Soohyun. She was standing nearby with Mr. Kim and Mr. Lee. What's going on? Soohyun asked. I found some people being chased, Soohyun explained. I helped them find a hiding place. It turned out to be Mr. Kim and Mr. Lee. I told them to find somewhere else since we found it first. But they won't listen. Mr. Kim frowned. We're in a life or death situation. No one gets to reserve hiding spots. Mr. Lee nodded. Exactly. You aren't expecting your bosses to die, are you? Moa stared at him in disbelief. Then she snapped. What are you talking about? She saved you from the monsters. And this is how you repay her. Mr. Lee glared at her. I'm your boss. Watch your tone. Every cell in Moa's body wanted to punch him. Who does he think he is? We're trapped in a dungeon. This isn't an office anymore. Before the argument could continue, the clicking sounds returned. Everyone froze. The monsters were close, very close. Run. The group sprinted deeper into the cave system. Ahead of them was a small cave. Soohyun immediately blocked the entrance. Who said you could go in there? Don't even think about it. Mr. Lee shoved her aside. She fell to the ground. Sehyeon rushed over to help her up. Moa's blood boiled. Soohyun brushed herself off. They're terrible people, but they'll probably let one more person hide inside. Then she pushed Moa toward the cave. Go. There's no time. Before Moa could enter, Mr. Lee shoved her back out. She hit the ground. What are you doing? Moa shouted. Lee looked disgusted. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Is this how adults behave? Soohyun immediately shot back. That's what we should be asking you. Moa glanced around desperately. Then she spotted a large boulder nearby, big enough to hide 3 people. The clicking sounds were getting louder. We don't have time for this. Without warning, she grabbed both Sehyeon and Soohyun. This way. The 3 women ran behind the boulder. Soohyun looked confused. You think this will hide us? Moa honestly wasn't sure. Then the monster arrived. A giant insect slowly approached the cave where the 2 managers were hiding. Inside the cave, Mr. Kim and Mr. Lee held their breath. The monster's antennas stretched forward. It touched one of them. Mr. Kim screamed. That was a mistake. Slash. Blood sprayed across the cave walls. Kim died instantly. Mr. Lee panicked. Help! Please help me! The monster responded by cutting him down as well. Silence returned. Behind the boulder, the 3 women sat frozen. Moa swallowed. That was close. That would have been us. The clicking sounds continued. The monster was still nearby. Soohyun forced a smile. We got lucky. Yeah. Even though Moa hated those 2, seeing them die like that felt horrible. But Soohyun was right. They had survived purely through luck, and luck didn't last forever. How long before it runs out? Moa forced herself to think. There weren't many options. She could search for a market manager, or she could find mana stones like she did before. Neither option sounded good. She glanced toward the monster. It was dragging the bodies away. Then, a realization hit her. There are 3 of us. If everyone needs a mana stone, then I need 3 mana stones. That means killing 3 monsters. Moa nearly cried. Worse, she couldn't see any of the valuable Evithanes plants nearby. I guess finding a market manager comes first? I'll look for Evithanes on the way. She stood up. Immediately, Sehyun grabbed her arm. Where are you going? We can't stay here forever. What else can we do? There's no way out. I know it's hard, but if we stay alive long enough, a rescue team will come. Suyeon shook her head. The last dungeon outbreak took a week before a rescue team arrived, and nobody survived. Moa frowned. It'll be difficult to survive here for a week. This time is different, Sehyun argued. More people were pulled in. We'll find a way to hold out. Moa looked at both of them. If I want all of us to get out alive, I need to tell them, even if I'd rather keep it secret. She took a deep breath. There is something I need to tell you.